talking extremism. And we're not talking, again, the random kid sitting in his parents' basement on 8chan. We are talking about potentially, if the number really is, let's say, 1 million, 10% of the Uyghurs have been radicalized. What would you do if 10% of your town had been radicalized into some weird, brainwashed sect of religion where they believe that you need to die? They'd sooner rather slit your throat than have a conversation with you. What would you do if 10% of that infiltrated your town? How would you combat it? What is the progressive answer? I think it is more progressive to try to re-educate them, to say, I don't think it's progressive to let them just continue on, because we've seen what's happened to Afghanistan. Afghanistan's a perfect example of what happens if it just continues. Suddenly, everybody's living under the Taliban, and women aren't free. Girls can't get educations past the age of 8. People are stoned to death, heads are cut. I mean, allowing your community to get to the point where the Taliban has now taken over and they're now in control of your town and you now have to live under that, that to me is not the progressive stance. I'm not saying I have an answer to how to deal with a 10% radicalized population, but I could tell you that certain ideas are more humane than others. If you're going to have a prison, which we have in this country, we have a prison system. If you have a prison system, what do you want the inside of those prison systems to be like? How do you want those prisons to operate? If the option is not, don't have them, let the people go, that's not really the option. If the option is you have to have the prison, then you'd want the prison to truly be educating the people, giving them hope, skills, education, right? You'd want that. Even though they're trapped there, that's what you'd want the inside of those prisons to be. So that's what China claims they're doing. That's what they claim they're doing. We don't really know. Another criticism, the way to breed extremists is to throw them in these camps and create resentment. Yeah, that is true. This is sort of a chicken and egg situation. Why did so many of the Uyghurs become radicalized to begin with? Well, because they probably felt oppressed. They probably felt a lack of opportunity. They probably felt poor. They probably felt like they didn't have a future. And so they were easier to turn to a radical form of Islam that would teach them that the afterlife has something really special in store for them, especially if they go and commit acts of jihad. So it is sort of a chicken and egg situation. And of course, the way to prevent extremism would be to educate people, give them hope, give them opportunities, right? That would be a way to prevent extremism. But when they've already become radicalized, it becomes a lot more challenging. People that are radicalized are not going to voluntarily go and be re-educated. They would view that as brainwashing, because it is. It's like a form of maybe positive, but it's still a brainwashing. So they're not going to go and voluntarily go and do that. So this becomes really sort of challenging. Another criticism, but it is true that putting extremists in camps is creating more extremists, but also marching in and blowing them up is creating more extremists. I don't know how you're going to, I don't know what you can do once somebody's already radicalized. I don't know what you can do that isn't going to create resentment. And I can say this, though, they've had no terrorist attacks in the last 3 years. Ever since they started doing this in 2014, and then since 2016 or 2017, they haven't had a terrorist attack. Another criticism, China is eradicating Uyghurs because they want the resources from the land. China's always had control over that land in one way, shape, or form. That land is, like I said, historically Han, and then it had Turkic people, and then it was Mongol rule, and then it was back to Han. I mean, that region has been all around. It was a part of the ancient Silk Road. It's going to be a part of China's future New Age sort of Silk Road that they're building. Their belt and I forgot right now what they call it. I'm really tired. So trying to eradicate the Uyghurs because they want the resources from the land. No, but they certainly don't want separatism. They're not going to let them go. China's not even letting Taiwan go, and Taiwan is not really part of China. So they're not going to let this region go. That is for sure. They definitely don't want to break up any part of China. Here's another one. We should support freedom of religion, and this isn't freedom of religion. It really depends on your definition of religion. If your religion is actually preaching that you should be killing people, and they're advocating for violence, and they tell you that's how you get into heaven, that's how you go to paradise, I don't know if that's, I mean, there are many weird religions that could have, they could tell you to sacrifice children. Should we allow that? They could say you've got to rob people or beat people. I think there's a line when we say I don't know if this is really, I don't know if you could really classify Wahhabism as a religion as it is a extreme ideology, maybe political even. This isn't about religion. This is about the desire by the Uyghurs to have autonomy and freedom. That's really why they're rising up. There is a bit of that. There are some Uyghurs who are more about nationalism, but then there are a lot of the jihadist Uyghurs, and they both have kind of come together in this common desire. But it's by no means the majority of Uyghur people that want to be separated from China. It is not a majority in that region. There are some people, but you could find that in every state in America. You could go to every state in the Union and find some group meeting in some basement or talking online, talking about how they want their state to be separate from the U.S. And you don't even have to go that far in places like California and Texas. You don't even have to go to online chat rooms or basements. You can go into big rooms where people really, truly want to be separated from the rest of the country. But you can certainly find that in every part of the United States. So it's not really an argument to say, well, these people want to go. There are always going to be people who want to go. Doesn't mean we let them go. This country fought an entire civil war where 500,000 people were slaughtered just to keep the country together, to prevent separatism. China is against religious minorities, but that is not true because currently the Muslim majority group in China is not being targeted. So the Uyghur Chinese are not Wahhabists yet, although, again, I'm going to point you to the article that was written by Farah Pandith, who was the U.S. ambassador to the Muslim nations and Muslim communities around the world under Obama, where she did see Wahhabism starting to creep into the Uyghur Chinese, and that's alarming. So we'll see. But, not everybody who's even taught Wahhabism really truly ends up becoming super radical. It's most aren't, but